It was the year 1908 and floods had ravaged the city of Hyderabad. Some experts say that within one day the number of casualties were 15,000 and a lot of people had been displaced throughout the city. The Nizams then said that something needs to be done so that this kind of flooding is never repeated in the city of Hyderabad. And so, a famed engineer from Mysore back then, Vishvesharya, was called to the city of Hyderabad and he built this lake behind me. He was the chief engineer for the lake that is built, which is called the Usman Sagar Lake. And there was a sister lake called the Himayat Sagar Lake, which was built in the city of Hyderabad to provide it with fresh water at all times and also control any kind of flooding that happens in the city. More than 100 years later, Hyderabad is again grappling with the severe urban flooding issue. Flyovers flooding go viral on Twitter, Facebook, and other places. The government of Hyderabad has now said that we need to tackle this problem of urban flooding. And whose wisdom are they relying on? It is these former engineers. Government is now saying we are going back to be able to solve this problem of urban flooding. So last year they built this organization called Hydra. Now Hydra's main objective right now is to tackle urban flooding. That is what they're saying. Hydra is going around the city trying to find out lost lakes or endangered lakes from previous maps and reclaiming that land. So they're saying that we have so far reclaimed 500 acres of lake land around the city. The demolitions have also been controversial. People have lost their homes, and there is a lot of resentment that has been built against the organization. However, work goes on, and I have come here to Hyderabad, and this is part of my reportage on the series of urban pressures that our country's major cities are facing to figure out how it is that Hyderabad has decided to tackle the issue of urban flooding, which from Gurgaon to Bombay to Bangalore is pervasive across Indian cities.
HYDRAA is addressing our water lags, traffic jams, illegal encroachments, lake encroachment, nala encroachment, road encroachment. All illegal activities are we are going to address with through HYDRAA. जो इलीगल एक्टिविटी करने वाले के लिए एक डर है हाइड्रा तेलुगु इंडस्ट्री हैज कंस्ट्रक्टेड ए फंक्शन हॉल इन डायरेक्ट लेक बेड
इसीलिए तो सिटीज हमारी फ्लड हो रही है दैट्स व्हाई बैंगलोर गेट्स
जहां पर पानी है वहां पर आप गए
यस
जहां पर आप है वो पानी इधर आ रहे पानी के घर पे आप घुसे पानी आपके घर पे घुस रहा है इतना ही फर्क है तो पानी का जगह पानी को दे रहा हूं मैं
Hydra, Hyderabad's rebranded disaster response agency, has caused quite a stir in the city. Some see it as a necessary and bold move, but the skeptics call it a systemic abuse of power. Formed in July 2024, it has reclaimed 500 acres of land in Hyderabad. All this has been done to revive the lakes of the city, which have been lost to years of encroachments by mafia, politicians, and real estate developers. Hydra aims to be the model force to solve flooding issues in cities. Indian cities aren't rain ready, it is not just bad weather or puddles. Urban floods have been costing lives. Hydra says it is the solution and a model. It feels it can be replicated by other cities such as Bengaluru, Mumbai, and Gurugram. In pockets, it has already started showing results.
Hydra is an acronym for Hyderabad Disaster Response and Asset Protection Agency, constituted last year on July 18th, mainly to protect the various assets like water bodies, parks, government lands, and roads. Along with this asset protection, we are also into disaster management and disaster response too. In the last 1 year, Hydra has protected more than 500, they have reclaimed more than 550 acres of land. And here in Hyderabad, each of the acre of land is more than 50 crores. And so put together, it will be around 25 to 30,000 crores of worth of government lands, and the lake lands and the public lands were reclaimed. And Hydra is also into mainly removal of the encroachments. Apart from the removal of encroachments on the water bodies and other places, we are also into the part of, we are into reclaiming and also rejuvenating various lakes in Hyderabad. 6 lakes were taken as a model case, and we are developing, Hydra is developing with government funds. And apart from that, many of the nalas or the streams here, which have been totally encroached, and the lakes, the interlink, I mean, we have a beautiful linkage of the lakes also through the streams.
We visited the Batakamakkunta lake to see the rejuvenation process there. Railings and a jogging track were being laid while water had been collected in the lake. The area is being revived as a community center for people to enjoy, but all the nalas also carry city sewers, so the water is not particularly clean. Drains are being designed to connect it to other nalas and the Musi River.
This was 3 months before it was completely a dumping yard. It was filled with solid waste, debris, and unwanted materials. It was a place where people even can't even step into this area. And this was very badly maintained, and it was a very vacant land. Now, in the month of mid of April, Hydra, the organization, which is basically meant for restoration. This through Hydra we have desilted this. We have removed all this jungle. We have removed the debris, and we have excavated this. We have desilted this, and then now we can see it is now completely. We have changed it. We have made it to a water body. Earlier, this area was completely. There was a lot of floods because the entire catchment area there was no outflow. This entire outflow used to reach this lake, but this lake was filled with debris and all. So there was a very badly the setback was there, and there was a lot of flooding happening in this area. Now from the April we started constructing these inlets. All these hydraulic structures have been restored here. Once we have done this inlet, entire catchment area flooding got stopped, and the water has reached the lake. This is a very simple engineering,
And these are all things that you found in Survey of India, older
See, Survey of India is definitely, it helps us to identify the any water bodies or any kind of water bodies, drains and all. We get this through Survey of India. So it is an identification map. There we found this as a lake, yeah. And after that, and then we also have some basic our state government records of village maps and surveys.
In the FTL, now you have roads, and in called as tracks, and in the track also you have concretized the entire circular manner in a gradient way. So you're further encroached into the FTL, and then now you're having a huge iron walls and gates and all that. I mean, according to which law is this that we are restoring a lake in this manner is the question here. Why are we putting so much of public money into that where we need not at all? What the lake needs is its dynamic restoration. And why that concretization? See, why do we have buffer zones? We have buffer zones both for channels as well as for these lakes, okay, rivers, for everything, for any water body. So why do we have it? Because even after the FTL's full expanse in the buffer zone, what happens is that when the water falls there also, due to the gradient across the channels, due to the gradient, it gets it gets sunk into the ground, and it flows again into the gravity based channels. Okay, that is why all the channels and water bodies, everything have their these buffer zones. But right now what is happening is, whether you take a lake like this, they are concretizing it thoroughly across inside the FTL, and they are putting retention walls or box drains in the channels. We have another one called Hydra, who will also discriminate arbitrarily what it wants to demolish and what it doesn't. It doesn't go that way.
Hydra, in the meantime, has also been conducting Prajavanis, where people come weekly to inform them about encroachments and other issues in their areas. One such problem of urban flooding emerged in Singham-style, where Patni Nala had been encroached upon and was causing urban flooding in 27 colonies. I'm standing at Patni Nala, where Hydra is conducting demolitions right now. Demolitions have already happened, and now this Nala, which had been encroached upon, you can see it's quite narrow over here, and behind me, if the camera pans there, you'll see how much wider this nala is supposed to be. It is 70 feet wide. Colonies, 7 colonies in totality here in Sikandrabad were affected and were facing flooding for the last 3 decades because of these encroachments. The residents say that they were repeatedly approaching authorities over the past 3 decades, but their complaints were not being heard. In the last 1 year, as the government of Telangana constituted Hydra to solve urban flooding over here in this city. They approached the Hydra commissioner, and demolitions soon followed. This is one of the ways that Hyderabad is battling urban flooding. The conditions in these 7 colonies were so bad that water up to 6 feet was accumulating in people's houses. Some people had actually relocated out of their house because they feared that right now they're incurring financial losses, say of furniture, of vehicles. But the flooding was so bad that they feared that one day might come when someone just loses their life. This year, they say that urban flooding has not been that bad. People have moved back to their houses, and moving forward, it will be better.
This is right in the middle of the entire city, and it's a very busy area. A lot of commercial domestic structures are here, and the population has gone up exponentially. So with this kind of encroachment, there was no way out for residents, and this issue has been reported by residents. In fact, there was a hunger fast too, and it was reported to the local authorities several times. But the unfortunate thing is, instead of addressing the elephant in the room, which is the encroachment, the authorities and the other civic bodies, they just resorted to measures like desilting, cleaning up the debris in the waters, in the nala water, so that it flows smoothly. But that does not address the issue of such huge volume of water having to pass through this nala to join the next nala where it drains out of the city. Residents got to know that there is now a dedicated body that's looking at urban encroachments and flooding. The residents of all the colonies came together and approached Hydra, not against any particular person, but to study the issue in totality and to take the required measures. So one of the reasons that was mentioned, the reasons for flooding that was mentioned to the commissioner came in here. He did the satellite survey of this area, interacted with residents, conducted a lot of meetings with other bodies.
These actions by Hydra have been popular with residents like Ranjita, but they have faced pushback as well. The agency has been awarded sweeping powers and doesn't need to give prior notice before demolishing properties. It made national headlines last year when superstar Nagarjuna's convention center was demolished. Hydra's bulldozer Raj in that sense is a little different from the rest of the country. It is not just the slums which are in the line of fire. It is not surprising then that in the last 1 year of existence, Hydra has been slapped with more than 200 court cases.
So likewise, the enactments are there. We have a GHMC provision, Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation Act 405 section. It also clearly specifies that while removing the encroachments in water bodies or onto the roads, we need not issue any notices also. So depending on that, what sort of encroachment, we get into that procedure, and we have been, very tough with the encroachers, and we have been reclaiming hundreds of acres of land. And this year we have a very, very ambitious plan of trying to reclaim many of the, encroached lands, and also the streams also, trying to establish the stream connectivity. And apart from this, many of the parklands, more than 70 parklands that have been encroached or that have been grabbed. The park extent is ranging from few hundreds of square yards, could be some, 2,000 to 3,000 square yards, so acres of land also. That also we have taken over, and that land grabbing of parklands also was checked in a big way here in Hyderabad.
Sir, I saw there is a Hydra police station also now. So what kind of work is the police station doing? What kind of complaints are you expecting to come to this specialized police station?
Yeah, Hydra police station has been inaugurated by the Chief Minister of Telangana, Sri Revanth Reddy Garu. and shortly it will be made functional once this, the powers are all being now worked out, and the mainly cases pertaining to disaster management and disaster related items like encroaching onto the land by construction, dumping of construction debris. That is the first step in encroaching a lake land, and also raising some structures and all in the FTL or the buffer zone of a lake, and similarly trying to grab over the public assets or the community assets of parks or these roads or this water bodies. They all will be registered here in Hydra, and we have an investigation teams also, and it is headed, SHO is an ACP rank officer, and so this is how Hydra has been endowed with various powers under various enactments.
But with all the good work that is happening on ground, there is also a darker side. A section of people have lost their houses, hard earned money. Residents of Sunnam Chiruvu claim that they lost their homes without any notice and didn't even have time to remove their belongings. They argue that their land is not in the lake's FTL and have already won a prior court case on the same. Hydra says instead of 67 villas permitted to be built in the area, more than 200 were built. Nunna Neeraj, one of the residents who lost their house, told ThePrint, and I quote, "We are the victims of systemic abuse of power. Hydra is simply abuse of power." Not just the demolitions, Revant Reddy is also trying to develop the Moosi River front, for which thousands of people living in slums face evictions from their house. They demand that their new houses should be built in nearby areas.
चलो यहाँ पे सिटी में दे दिए, अब ये जंगल में फेंकते क्या इन लोगों को?
इन लोगों को अगर खरीद बाजार में दिए तो
खरीद में दिया तो हम लोग रहते साहब, नए बोल के नए बोल रहे हम लोग। यहाँ पे हम लोगों को काम धंधा हम लोगों को यहीं छे, काम धंधा हम लोगों की मेहनत करने का हम लोगों को यहीं छे, हम लोग काम धंधा वाले यहीं छे, समझे? अब जंगल में उन लोग लेके जाएंगे तो हम नहीं रह सकते वहाँ पे, हम कारोबार भी वहाँ पे नहीं कर सकते, हमारा काम धंधा यहीं छे पूरा। हम लोग यहीं पहले से है, यहीं रहते थे हम लोग। हम लोग सिटी में दियो, हम सिटी में रहते हैं, नहीं बोल के नहीं बोल रहे, सिटी में कहीं तो ही बना के जो क्या नहीं है बोलो, क्या बोलते रामोजी फिल्म सिटी का बहुत है।
हजारों घरा गरीबों के घरा तोड़ के यहाँ पे जो है मॉल्स बनाएंगे, पार्क बनाएंगे, कश्ती रानी करेंगे, ये समझ से दूर है हमारी। ये क्यों गरीबों को जो है बेघर करके आप जो है टूरिज्म बनाना चाह रहे हैं?
Revive the river, because Hyderabad's life source is the Moosi River. But from past 70 years, it has been called a nala or a drainage system. So trying to revive and beautify the river would actually benefit the city a lot. It could also prevent mosquitoes and other borne diseases from the river itself. And the reservoirs to be maintained at water, the full tank level and everything. These are balancing reservoirs. So they also serve as water sources for the city, and they prevent the city from flooding. So both these reservoirs need to be sustained and maintained properly, and that will help the city to not get flooded, and the other canals and everything that were built in the previous century or way before that, they can also be restored to prevent further flooding. The most severe flooding case we saw in the past few years was in the 2020 floods, and a lot of people lost their homes here. Most of the areas in Hyderabad got submerged because they were built in lake beds and stuff like that.
As Hyderabad looks back at its history for wisdom, lost lakes take center stage, a system the residents are proud of. Mohammad Safiullah Khan explains the city's checkered history and how tank and lake systems are part of the city's heritage.
Hyderabad, as you know, has got a 430 plus years of history, checkered history wherein we have had the Qutub Shahis and the Asif Jahis ruling this part of geographically speaking. And originally the indigenous rulers, the Kakatiyas, the Qutub Shahis and the Asif Jahis, in that chronology, they realized that this is a rainfall deficient area because there are no major rivers in this part of the world, at least not in the near vicinity except for Moosi, which is a rain-fed river. So as early as the 1550s, there was a need to excavate old Kakatiyan period I'm talking is about, they ended in 1323, exactly 700 years ago. So they left behind a legacy of lakes, which were again excavated upon, and as the population grew, their size was sort of silt dredging or whatever you may call it technically speaking, to enlarge the lakes, and all essentially are all rain fed, because there's no major river here. So all of these are rain fed, and over a period of time, as the city of Hyderabad developed in the 1590s and 1600s and 1700s and 1800s, most of them were dependent on either wells in their in the vicinity of the homes and all, and the part of the city had a lake called Hussain Sagar, which was excavated in the 1560s, and it may come as a big surprise to people. It was one of the first lakes excavated as a food for work program, because there was a common occurrence of famine and drought, and the rainfall was not very regular, in the sense that there were frequent floods, and also there are times when there was no rain. So in between 1558 and 1562, a 4-year period, the Qutub Shahi rulers they excavated this lake, which incidentally now happens to be in the heart of Hyderabad. It is called Hussain Sagar. Unfortunately, the water of that lake is not used for any practical purposes, because there are a lot of affluents which are from different parts of the city.
For The Print, this is Shubhangi Misra reporting from Hyderabad.